My honor to be asked to introduce Barbara Abeitia Conrad to represent the entire Abeitia family.
Let us first start by thanking Paul Chavez, the board of directors of the Cesar Chavez Foundation, and everyone at the foundation for honoring the entire Abeitia family today because of the selfless sacrifices it has made to the farm worker movement. This day is especially meaningful because it does recognize the entire Abeitia family, which is now spread out across the country in states including Arizona, California, Tennessee, Texas, and Hawaii. This honor is also significant because it spans multiple generations of the same family, from our patriarchs who are now mostly gone, to a new generation of young family activists who are continuing the legacy, and everyone in between. Let us share a little about family members who are receiving special mention today. My parents, Pete and Eleanor, devoted many years tirelessly helping Latino veterans, their families, and the poor through the American Legion. They held a strong passion for the United Farm Workers movement. Eleanor worked in farm labor as a child, and both she and Pete worked in packing sheds and in the fields as a young married couple. They knew the hardships and abuses. So later, while they still didn't have much, my parents always gave to the UFW. Cesar often took meals at our home, and my parents cooked and delivered many meals to UFW activists. They truly believed in La Causa. My uncle, Ray Abeitia, moved from Arizona to Santa Maria, California in 1935. He became a certified court interpreter and community organizer who was happiest when helping farm workers and other poor people in the community. He spoke about Cesar and the movement up and down the California coast. Cesar often stayed at Ray's home while traveling through the Central Coast. Upon Ray's death, Cesar wrote, "Ray was one of those unique men and women who cared deeply and sacrificed much for the poor. And in the end, his courage and strength was a lesson for us all." Hector Abeitia, my uncle, was an activist and organizer in California's Central Valley. He was associated with AWOC, the Agricultural Workers Organizing Committee, the mostly Filipino union that began the Delano Grape Strike in 1965 and later merged with Cesar's union to form the UFW. Hector was heavily involved in the grape strike. In October of 1965, he was beaten by grower Charlie Despoto. For years, Hector spoke to anyone he could grab or who would listen at meetings, barbecues, and gatherings about the farm worker movement. More than 65 years ago, the Community Service Organization, a grassroots civil rights group in California and Arizona that Cesar later led, started empowering Hispanics and changing the course of history for their children. These brave men and women learned to hold house meetings, protest police brutality, and register people to vote. Our uncle, Ernie Abeitia, met Cesar in San Jose when they both joined the CSO, and Ernie became a lifelong friend and protege. Ernie, a grocery store owner, held meetings in his home and in the back room of his store, using milk crates for chairs. Ernie was the CSO local chapter president and became a pioneer for Latino and poor people's civil rights in the early 1950s. He was also a staunch UFW supporter and pioneering California activist who inspired many others. My brother, Benny Abeitia, began his activism with Cesar and the UFW in the 1970s. He devoted himself to the union, working in Arizona, California, Texas, and Chicago. He often took his children to farm worker marches and picket lines. When Cesar was in Phoenix, Benny wouldn't let his kids eat until late in the afternoon so they could learn about fasting and understand the sacrifices Cesar made. Though in declining health and not long before his death, Benny took his granddaughter Lucia to an immigration march to show her the ropes. It gave him great joy to pass on the torch. I was 17 years old in 1972 when my father, Pete, took me to the Santa Rita Center to meet Cesar, who was fasting. That began 9 years of my working full-time with the union. On the campaign to recall Arizona Governor Jack Williams, in the lemon strike in Yuma, the lettuce boycott in Chicago, and helping farm workers organize in Delano. Then I worked with Caesar at union headquarters at La Paz in Keene, California. Now as an oncology nurse, I continue trying to make a difference in people's lives. As a volunteer with the Catholic Church, I feed the homeless and teach English to immigrants. Sylvia Abathia Whitman, my sister, dedicated herself to the Cesar Chavez Foundation after Caesar's passing in 1993. An official with the City of Phoenix, she helped municipal employees learn about Caesar's work through educational materials, speakers, photos, and art displays. Her Chavez Day celebration started as a small reception and grew to an annual luncheon of up to 2,000 people. Everyone got involved. Sylvia created and for many years kept alive these annual observances. So today the Chavez Foundation Gala Dinner in Phoenix is the biggest such event in the nation. We must also recognize another family member, John Laredo, who as an Arizona state legislator was instrumental in making Caesar's birthday a holiday in Arizona. The patriarchs of our family inspire us all to keep alive their legacy of activism. We commit ourselves to be good stewards of all that has been entrusted to us, to share our time, our talent, and our treasure with others, especially the farm workers. We are so blessed and honored that you chose to name this facility after our family. Si se puede.
Okay, so here's the fun part, the ribbon cutting. Of course you are. Barbara, thank you very much for that. That's very, very touching. I'd like to invite up Paul Chavez right now, Michael Nowakowski, and the following Abathia members. Could they also join us as well? That's Barbara Abathia, Sylvia Abathia Whitman, Bernie Abathia, Ray Abathia, Amelia Abathia, Rita Pena, Lucia Abathia, and Ernie Abathia. If you could please come and join me next to the grand opening ribbon, please.
Give your purses.
Yeah. If you could please stand behind the ribbon so we can get a nice picture of the event.
Come up here. Sit up here.
All right, come on, squeeze in. Get in close.
Fail. Good thing you're tall. Good thing you're tall.
You guys ready? On three. 1, 2, 3.
Before we go in, we just really want to thank the Cesar Chavez Foundation. You know, this is really not just affordable housing, but this is a monument to the Abathia family. A place where people can learn about everything that the Abathia family has done, not just here in Arizona, but throughout the country. And we just really want to thank the Abathia family for being here. And we want to close off by some Si se puedes, right? And some vivas. So we want to start off by first saying, Que viva los Abathias! Viva! Que viva Ray! Viva! Que viva Hector! Viva! Que viva Ernie! Viva! Que viva Pete! Viva! Que viva Benny! Viva! Que viva Cesar Chavez! Viva! And you always keep that Si se puede attitude in your hearts and soul, and anything is possible in this world. God bless you all and thank you. The doors are open. Come on in.
Probably happened on the internet.